Welcome back to Whiteboard Wednesday. Mike Cromwell,
Brian DeVault.
We're your co-hosts, and we're now on to part 3, I guess episode 4, part 3 of the elements of a great cybersecurity posture. So today we're going to talk about mobile, which is symbiotic with end users because so many people are remote these days, but there's also a lot more applications that are becoming extensions of the network over mobility solutions. So Brian, why don't you walk us through what a great posture looks like on this front?
And a lot of demand for this recently, right, with the COVID and the work from home. And a lot of people are just getting more accustomed to the telecommuting strategy. So I find myself on my phone a lot these days, doing basic office tasks like, MS Teams for messaging and email, even as for going as far as to access company documents. So these are all very important. So I've got them broken down here into a couple of different categories, but one of them is you've got to enroll. So you got to have a product that helps you do mobile device management. Some of those are built in Office 365 and other productivity suites. Some of them are standalone, but you have to have a program or a platform, if you will, to manage mobile devices. That's going to help you with the rest of these items, right? So the other thing is enforce, right? So back here in your policies section, you're going to have a mobile policy written as well. And so you need to use your mobile device management tool to enforce what your policy says, right? So make sure the two align, right? So writing this one is only as good as the paper it's on unless you enforce it here, right? So, and then adjust accordingly. Watch your behavior, watch your end user's behavior. What you're going to find is at first it may be a little bit too restrictive. And so you might loosen it up in some areas, or maybe vice versa, right? So you're going to get feedback from your end users about, hey, my mobile device doesn't allow me to do this, or hey, by the way, I was able to access this, I'm not normally able to, right? So you need to make sure you get that right. And restrict, applications that are installed on it, restrict them to be signed by the App Store, right? Don't allow, restrict the software that can be installed on those mobile devices. So make sure it's only apps that are signed by the App Store. Make sure people are, not downloading suspicious apps or apps that have malicious intent, right? Like things like Wi-Fi scanners and hacking tools and those types of things. A lot of times they'll have embedded software in them that's beaconing or doing something that you don't want it to be doing. And then, authenticate your applications against your mobile device. Again, use that multi-factor authentication. Require it from mobile platforms as well as from your desktop platform or your SaaS environments, so that you ensure that if somebody picks up a device or it's lost or stolen, that you have the ability to prevent them from gaining access to it, even if they get the code right for the welcome screen.
And how does this look different when you're talking company-issued mobile device versus bring your own device, and where somebody's going to take their phone and add all the apps they need to do business, which seems to be an overwhelming majority of people today?
If you can't restrict enough and still allow the end user to provide their own phone or their own mobile device, then the company needs to provide them one. Don't sacrifice security because you're giving into the needs of the personal needs of the end user. Put the business needs up front. Make sure you can achieve what you're trying to achieve, and let that drive the policy.
So therefore, you would take only certain applications and enable people to have access to those on mobility. That makes sense. That's just good common practice.
Right.
But something that you probably see a lot of businesses that don't necessarily do that.
Well, and sometimes you see, like in more restrictive environments, you might not allow your end users' phones to join public or guest Wi-Fi networks, or Wi-Fi networks that are unprotected, password protected. That's a good policy in general. Like, you shouldn't do that on your personal device. Why are you doing it on a company device? So you can be more restrictive or less restrictive based on the framework, and do things like maybe don't allow end users to download documents to their mobile device, but they might be able to view them. That could be an example, right? Because any of your company data that resides outside of your corporate network or your cloud or your SaaS environment represents risk.
And what are best in practice tools that companies can use to manage mobility devices?
So the two most common you're going to see are Office 365 and Google Workspaces, which are the two office productivity suites. Microsoft takes this a step further with Intune and some of their advanced products, but those are the two industry leaders.
Well, there you have it, folks. Stay tuned next week where we're going to dig into compute. We got 4 more episodes left. If you have any questions, comments, give them to us below. We welcome feedback, and we'll do special sessions based on what we hear from folks. And stay tuned. Appreciate you guys watching, and look forward to talking to you next week.
See you next week.